more camping, this is more glamping, some may call it. Pointed out that some of the improvements weren't necessary. It's always a personal preference, of course. I don't mean to be, negative about anything except for that I believe is wrong. And, there are certain things wrong with Stoney Creek Campers that I noticed with my campers. I'm not saying it's all campers either. I just want to make the buyer aware that if you're looking at something like this, you may not be in a position to rectify these little simple issues. Welcome back to the channel. It's been quite a while. I've spent a fair bit of time and a fair bit of money on fixing up the car and the camper, changing a few things on it. You're going to get to see some of the things that I have changed on it, on the camper that is, because it was just not good enough to my liking, and that's just a personal preference. Like the latches, for instance, like I said earlier on, like the TV, yeah, I've just mounted things in such a way that it's suitable for me. Got rid of the jockey wheel because I found it annoying. I could never move this camper anyway because it weighs a couple of ton. I wouldn't be able to move it around on my driveway. It's on a slope, and it's like I got the electric jockey stand. I'll show you that in a bit as well, and that is basically, as you can see here, that is basically a lot easier, simpler for me to use, and not everybody's cup of tea, of course, or a cup of coffee for that matter. I would like to say that overall I'm very happy with the camper. My wife and I, we spent a fair bit of time in it already. We went up and down Queensland with it and all that this year. We had a great time in it. It was comfortable, not a lot of room, but you know what, it's got everything you really need. So as I also would like to thank everybody else that's been participating, asking questions and everything else. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you, some of them, in time. I know some people have been asking me personal questions about the camper because they were also in the market for one. Look, I would still recommend this camper. There is no doubt about it. It is a great unit. It is comfortable. It is easy to tow, and boy, yeah, and a lot have been asking for that, so I'm just going to go through some of the questions now that have been asked. And one of the top one is that how does it tow? And look, at 110 kilometers an hour in the Hilux, I don't have any problems. It just sits there, it hugs the road really well, and even though you might hit some potholes or whatever, it doesn't sway too much and all that. The electric braking helps, because when it starts to sway, I already got my hand on the brake controller, of course. As you sort of grow accustomed to it, it's like, that's your handbrake on the trailer. Which then brings me to another one. How does it brake? Is one of the questions. Fantastically. I don't have any problems. We just use a Heyman Reese brake controller. Don't have any problems at all. Again, personal preference. I can go on and on about that, but it's not important. If somebody wants to know about why I chose a Heyman Reese, I'll happily cover that as well. But for the time being, overall, the trailer tows really well. Off-road, I've been semi-off-road with it, and it goes all right. Maybe it's a bit of nervousness then that comes out, even though years of experience of towing and camping and everything else, the nervousness comes out when it starts to topple a bit at the top, you think, oh, is that far enough, or is that too far, am I going, So there are some levelers that you can buy for a couple of $100. You put leveler in there and you can watch it, I believe through Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, whatever it is, over your phone, and you can see the level of the camper. So when you park it as well, you can utilize something like that. And I think that's probably a great unit. So when we are camping somewhere, you can actually reverse it into a spot, hypothetically, and then level it out as much as possible before you actually put the wheels up. people have asked why did I change the latches, and we have 4 latches around here, as you're probably aware, and especially at the back I find it a lot easier just to pull the lever over, and it just drops down. There's not a problem with it. While we were camping a little while ago, I was actually at Hunts Bridge, and one of the campers actually walked up to me and wanted to know about the camper, and they turned around and they said, and I've never been asked that before, and it just threw me for a second, and they actually asked me, would you buy this camper again? That to me is like, wow. I had to think about that for a minute, and I said yes, I would buy this again. Taking everything in consideration, the changes that I wanted to make, that I like to make, and like the shower leaking and everything else, all those things that went wrong, I would buy this again. We got a pretty good deal with this, with Stoney Creek, and overall the service was great with Stoney Creek, especially in the beginning, but it died down real quick, right? And that's typical, right? So some of the changes, like about to show you now, the TV was lower and we've raised it, and I raised it as high as possible. As you can see, the bracket is right up there now. So to me that is basically a no-brainer. To me that is like, wow, I'm no longer kicking it. Some of the changes that we didn't mention earlier on is that the TV was too low. Every time we got into bed, we kicked it. We put our feet up against it. And even when you're laying in bed, you want to watch a bit of TV. Generally, I don't do much of that, but even if you wanted to, you couldn't see, because you're like, who's trying to watch TV laying down, you know? So now we got the TV higher, as you can see now. And then basically, as you can see, I just removed the bracket. I know we've got the screws and all that into place. I still want to tidy that up in time, but I'm definitely happy with the fact that it is now sitting here. It is much better. Then we also changed, of course, we added the power point. We had a power point put in and all that, so we can actually connect up the coffee machine, the pod machine, and we get power from the car. The Hilux is set up, that's a separate video, but the Hilux is set up with an inverter, and I plug the camper into that, and we got power into the camper, generally just to have a cup of coffee. So yeah, and that's in the Hilux video. And then you can see that the shower works really well. That's not a problem now, it doesn't leak anymore. We put this timber flooring in there, right, just to stand on. So when you, after a shower, I found that even though the caravan was pretty level, you still have a bit of water sitting in there. So when you went to the toilet, you would walk into the wet, and then. Now, in regards to the radio, like I said earlier, did definitely have 2 channels only on the one speaker, and then I found out through Stoney Creek that what they've actually done is they have I don't understand it myself, but what they actually done with the stereo is that they put, in some campers they got 2 speakers inside like we have here, and then they got 2 outside, and they're saying in the video, really clever not, they're saying, if you want the only speakers outside, you just grab the left channel. If you only want speakers on the right inside, then you put it on the right channel. It's like, well, hang on a minute, why wouldn't you have front and rear? What do I know? And then to come back on that, we put an antenna outside. I'll show you that now. As you can see, I'm not 100% happy with it, but it definitely works. There is no doubt about it. I've got plenty of signal now. It was a hard thing to fit, as you can see, that I couldn't get the coax all the way up the wall as I was hoping to get it right up to the antenna, and there was nothing I could do about it. So I fed it through as high as I could, and then I fed it up on the outside in a track. So be it. One of the other things we have changed is we put a curtain in between, so when you're at night getting dressed or undressed inside the camper, when the door is shut, then the fly screen would not be adequate enough to have that. A couple of things that I've also noticed while camping, that outside the camper at night, sitting under the awning, you can't charge your phone, you can't do nothing, you got no 12 volt or USB power outside, so that's something I want to change in the near future as well. There are also, I mean the panel, the control panel here is pretty good here, as you can see, but everything is outside, so if it's raining and you're inside, hypothetical of course, and you're inside and you want to have, you know, an idea what your batteries are doing or whatever, you can't see, you don't. So we get the fire going, nice quiet spot here. We have running water, we have